right. Looks like the mic's working. Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's Monday night, and that means it's time for Vampire the Masquerade. Welcome to the playground. Those of you that are new, those of you that have been here before, welcome back. I'm joined tonight by Nox, our storyteller, Zack, who plays Victor, and we're waiting on our Martha, who's running a little bit late tonight. So, wanted to check in with you guys in chat, see how you're doing. How was your Monday? Um, what'd you get up to over the weekend? And I'll ask the same to Nox and Zack. Well, I know what Zack got up to.
Not much really. Just trying to figure out what all is going on for the Chronicles going forward and for other stuff. The only real notable thing that and not to get all geeky,
No such thing on this channel to be too geeky.
so I know that a lot of people had severe problems with Cyberpunk 2077 when it first came out. I had a massive rig, so I never had a problem with it. But they've so for PlayStation, they've been selling the PS4 version of it for like $5 or $10 at Best Buy on occasion.
Wow.
And the cool part about it is if you buy it on PS4, you get an automatic upgrade to PS5.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it on Amazon for like $5 and bought it. And Em, my wife, she's never seen any of it, so I've been playing it for her. And so last night we did the one of the endings, because Cyberpunk has, depending on how you count them, between 5 and 7 different endings. And so last night we did the worst of the endings, the devil ending. And like, it's been a while since there's been like a video game sequence that was like kind of got into your skin and was just that kind of harrowing. Like occasionally they do bad endings. Like, I don't know if you guys ever played Dishonored, but like the bad ending was just kind of like a montage of so in order to get the bad ending in Dishonored, you had to kill. You basically were really free with your violence, and as a result of killing everybody and being very free with your violence, kind of the city kind of fell into chaos, and there was kind of a montage at the end that showed how it kind of moved to like a fascist monarchy because of that. Well, in this, like, it's not a montage. Like, it's like they make you go like through the worst possible set of circumstances given your choices, and like the longer, like, it's one of those things where it doesn't end. Like, it was one of those things that's like, oh, it's the end of the game, this should be like about 20 minutes. It was like an hour and a half later. I was just
Wow.
I was like, by the end of it, I was just like, there's a reason why this is considered the worst ending, and the suicide ending is not the worst ending. It's the end of the game, and you're like, I could do this, or I could put a gun in my mouth. Suicide is definitively the less worse ending. Like, holy shit balls, that was brutal.
Jeez.
Now, as far as games go for me, I finished up Miles Morales, platinum that one. I agree with you. It did feel more like a DLC than like its own full-fledged game.
I mean, it was fine.
It was fun. No, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't have platinumed it if I wasn't enjoying it. So, I enjoyed playing it. But I did feel, I was pointing out the Pixie, I felt that there was a lot of things they did in the first game that they took out of the second for some reason. Like the entire second game is just Miles Morales' perspective. Whereas like the first game, it had you going back and forth between Miles and Peter and other different characters to kind of see how things are going, through different characters, different people's eyes. But like Miles was just all kind of like one straight linear. It was still good, still enjoyable. But it just felt like it was more copy pasted from. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot new other than his Venom ability. You know, his
Well, and
Venom
that was
power.
and one of the things that I kind of felt like was probably a problem was if you asked me to name Spider-Man villains, I could sit there and you know just start down the list of all of the most famous
Yeah.
ones until we started going into some of the deep cuts. Like he's got a huge roster of villains.
Oh yeah. And
But
Spider-Man 1, you went up against like the whole Sinister Six, basically. You know.
but they
And
and
this one,
even
it's Rhino.
and even Mr. Negative was a pretty deep cut in terms of his more famous villains.
Yeah.
And for Miles Morales, like I felt like that was one of the problems is they couldn't use all of the major villains that he would have faced from the
Were in
Ultimate
jail.
Universe in comics that would have been like the Green Goblin or blah blah blah. They couldn't do that either because they're winding up for the second one. They've already shown that Norman Osborn.
The Norman, yeah, at the end.
And then they couldn't do it because they've already been defeated in universe, Doc Ock and blah blah blah. So it's one of those things. It's like, well, it felt a little bit like, well, I guess we're going with the most well-known villain that he had. It just felt like they went and they made the game, and it's a great game.
Yeah.
But they made it because the original Spider-Man game did so well, and because after Into the Spider-Verse, the Miles Morales character, I mean, it has been popular before that, but got way more popular.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we now need to make a game about this to make the money off of it.
Yeah.
It was like the voice acting was good, the Prowler sequences were fine, like everything was fine.
Yeah.
But in comparison to how good the original was, it wasn't even close. Like it was, it just wasn't even.
Like I said, I agree with you. It was enjoyable, but I didn't get that same feeling that I got from playing the first Spider-Man, where it was just like, oh, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I started Death Stranding now, so I'm working on that.
You will have to tell me how that is, because that was not even something I looked at that and I was like, not interested.
When it first came out and we had more piqued interest, we didn't have time in the day to play games at that point, so we watched the full walkthrough of it.
A playthrough. We watched the playthrough.
And
like
that was good enough for
parts.
me.
Each one was like 3 hours.
It was massive.
Condensed.
But,
it was massive.
I was healing from surgery, so it was, nothing else to do. So
I know the story.
We know, and I enjoyed it for what it was, but for me, is it the kind of game I would sit down and go through on my own? No. But
I think the next big PlayStation game that I'm looking forward to is the Last of Us remake. Like I have the sequel, but it's been so long. Like
I haven't played 2 yet.
So I played through the original one when it came out, and then when The Last of Us 2 came out, I didn't have a PS4. Like my PS4 was busted. So then I got my PS5, which actually came with The Last of Us 2. But by the time I looked at it, I was like, I remember a Reader's Digest synopsis of the first game. Like it's been so long. Like if you're ever on doing the TV guide, on the channel guide selector, and there's the 2-line thing at the bottom underneath of the title. That's about how much I remember from The Last of Us. It's like The Last of Us. Man and girl run through mushroom infested areas. I'm just I don't know what happened. I don't remember.
That was another one I just watched Zack play, and I thoroughly there are just some games I thoroughly just would rather watch than the stress of playing it myself, especially if it's a game style that I'm kind of handicapped to. My reaction time,
shooting.
Yeah, my reaction time, I can't do shooters or things like that, and also my vision becoming so poor.
It's like the Uncharted series and Last of Us. Those are all games she just kind of watched me play because she.
And then I found them thoroughly enjoyable. I liked the storylines. Last of Us especially got me. I loved it.
Man, the first just intro.
Yeah, the intro with Joel.
The prologue, man.
If you don't at least like grip those tears in the tear ducts. If you're not bawling by the end of that thing, you might not be human. I'm just saying. It was gut wrenching.
You see, the my big problem with The Last of Us 2, aside from the fact that I don't remember anything about the first one, was the fact that so much of it has been spoiled for me. Like, yeah, I know,
Yoru.
like, spoilers. Yeah, I know Joel dies in like the most gratuitous fashion possible. Yeah, I know. Like at the end of the game, like there's no
Yeah, Pixie was
resolution other
watching a
than
video
losing
that
your
was that one
fingers,
for
and it's
me.
just like all I heard about it was is they were like, "This is not a game you play for fun," and I was like, "Then it's not a
Neither
game
was
I
the
want to
first one.
play."
Well, the first one wasn't a game. I don't know. The first one was kind of, especially at the beginning and the end. The beginning and the very end of that game were both just cruel.
Yeah, the I do remember the ending for The Last of Us, and like, it was one of those things. I was like, "Yeah, Joel, you're wrong. I'd have done it too."
Well, for me, it was the lead up because you knew Joel, you pretty much knew what he was gonna do, but you kind of had this moment where you're like, but will he do the greater good, moment? Will it happen? Nah.
Speaking of the
Well,
great, speaking of the greater good,
like I said, I've got a bit of the rage still in my chest, so feel free to use it. Mm.
welcome everybody to our Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition Chronicle, Philly by Night. We are now on session 59. So, a really brief recap on the end of last session. I
know where I was.
holding somebody's liver. The end of last session, our coterie found themselves. Alice decided to try to go seek answers about her situation from Eugene and found that the answers that she were given was probably opened up too many possible opportunities to possibly be a real lead. There were too many directions it could have gone on. Elsewhere, our other two coterie members were handling a newborn kindred named Westy, who, when they took her to go hunt, had in the bathroom of a club nearby a bit of an unusual circumstance, as Westy's hungers, or shall we say, a little more solid. And that is where we left off, and that is where we begin the evening. So, Vic and Michael, you currently start the evening, or ending the previous evening, is more accurate, with a bit of a conundrum.
Stop.
It is the two of you and your brand new child, Wisteria, along with a mostly drained human who is on the verge of unconsciousness, and a very, very dead kind who has been literally disemboweled and is having his imbowels. Is that how you say that? Being chewed on. That's not how you say that.
Entrails?
That's probably more accurate, because if I said chewing on his bowels, that's an entirely different
section of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
I mean, there are some people on the internet. Anyways, the
Are there? I'm just going to presume they're ghosts. Digital ghosts.
2 ghosts, 1 cup.
Starting it
End up
early.
with a whole lot of ectoplasm.
I was about to say, I hope that's ectoplasm.
It looked like peanuts to me, but whatever. So, what are you guys going to do? The club, you know that the bar outside is not very populated, but you also brought these 2 in here as part of a party that you guys joined up with to go hunting. And now you're in a bathroom with somebody who's nearly dead and somebody who's actually dead.
I guess I go get Clyde.
Well, I mean,
that would require leaving.
I was going to say, you could theoretically, Vic, leave the bathroom and go do that. Go get somebody else to assist with this. Go get something.
I'm probably better off just posting outside, making sure no one else comes in.
Or like right in front of the door, keeping it from opening.
Oh, they're not going to get around me if I'm standing in front of the door.
Yeah, but then you're seen.
Mm.
Then you are visually associated with whatever may be left over here. So stand within the door.
Okay.
And keep it from opening. That way nobody sees you and a body. Are there windows to the bathroom?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are there
Is
windows
there a
in the bathroom?
Lock
Okay,
windows.
There are so here is your situation. This bathroom is not exposed to any side of a sort of outside wall, so it's not like there's an easy way to escape. And there's no windows, of course, because having windows to an inside bathroom would just be a little weird.
Are there large vents or anything?
No. There's a on one of the bathroom, like kind of at the ground level, and I've never been sure what these things are, but there's like a long metal vent that is screwed into the wall that is probably about 4 feet wide by about 2.5 feet. It's basically at hip level down. It's not a grate. It's more like a ventilation of some sort, like thin metal. But that's really the only sizable anything that's in the bathroom. There is a ventilation, like a fan that's in the ceiling. It's certainly not big enough to crawl out of or to put a body without, stuffing it up there. Although I guess if you just keep encouraging Westy to eat the body, at some point there will be so little that's possible. But whatever.
How far are we from sunrise?
It's heading towards morning. It was the end of the night when you guys went out to hunt. You guys, let's see.
How long is she with this body?
She's done the liver. That's it. She's not. At this point, you can tell. So, and I would say this is from previous experience, Michael. She is so ingrained in the feeding right now and the feeling of calming that hunger inside of her that the reality of what she's doing has not set in. And you don't know her well enough, of course, to determine if she's going to have a freak out moment as soon as that sets in, or if this is going to be a day or two out. She goes, I totally ate somebody's liver without a glass of Chianti.
No fava beans?
No fava beans. Unless dude had fava beans. Anyways.
They wouldn't end up in the liver. That's not how that works. The Chianti would end up in the liver.
Look.
Not the fava.
Well, to be fair, everything really kind of goes through the liver. It gets like passed through for toxification or detoxification. So even like a little bit of what's it called? Yeah, wormwood, LSD, whatever.
So what are you guys gonna do?
Have I been into this club before?
No. No, this is not your scene at all. In fact, this is kind of like I won't say this is like a dive bar. This is kind of one of those. Um, it's not like Buffalo Wild Wings or Hooters or something like that, but it's about the same level of food and staff.
Got it. What's it called? When we were walking towards the bathroom, was there a continuation of the hallway towards the back?
Into an employee only room. You don't know if that's locked or not.
Or if that goes out? Okay.
You would assume so. So you would, I would say, you would be smart enough to know, based on the size of the building that you walked into, that that likely does not go out. That
Okay.
likely goes into another room, maybe a hallway, maybe an administrative area. But
So we basically have no way to go but through the front.
I mean, that's certainly an option.
I'm asking about the structural aspects of the building in general. As silly buildings go, does this have access to an alleyway and garbage?
You would assume that there's probably an access to the back area or going out the back of the building. Spatially, probably no more than 20 or 30 feet from where you are now. But that could be a hallway and an office, or through a closet and then throughout the back of the closet or whatnot.
Okay. Is she still eating?
Yes, she's still eating the liver.
Okay. I feel like I can't leave her until she's done eating. But when she's done, Vic, I want you to keep everybody out of this bathroom. Like once she like stops, so and I'm gonna go scout out the most possible ways. And then you can like open the door when you smell me.
Okay, so to reiterate the plan, you're going to leave the two kind, one dead, one not, with Westy and Vic, and then you're going to leave out of the bathroom and head out into the.
Yeah, but I'm not going to leave until like she's done like eating and like wrapped up, because she's my like responsibility kind of child thing. So like I'm like I got to make sure what happens next. Like
Me to go out in the club, I can go invisible.
Yeah, that might be with it, but I don't know how to like bar anybody from coming in here. Is there a lock on the door?
That was what I was asking earlier. Is there a lock on the door?
I would say yes.
Okay.
This is not a big enough bathroom that it's going to be
multiple.
Yeah, that there's not a whole lot of space in here for a ton of people. On the flip side of that, again, as it is heading towards sunlight, it is also heading towards probably the point in time when management or other employees are going to be like, stop having your Coke binge in my bathroom, get the fuck out.
Problem with obfuscation is I'll still show up on camera.
They've got and there's lots of cameras, and there's definitely cameras and bars and stuff for legit liability sakes, especially in the front of the hallways and stuff around the bathroom. I don't know. I'm assuming.
Can we make it look like the other guy, the one that's still alive, did it, and then we all just run out screaming?
Yes, let's make it so like some other dude, no drugs in his system, somehow ripped out somebody's liver, ate it, and passed out from from lack of blood.
Well, by the time they make all those distinctions that it's not that guy, y'all will be in the wind. Just saying.
I was also going to say, didn't something like that happen in Florida with the dude who ate the other dude's face?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was just a one time, and it was public, and it was just the face. He didn't actually take a bite out of his entire midsection.
Maybe he didn't have enough time.
Bath salts are a hell of a drug.
You have any bath salts we can sprinkle around? Here we go. Bath salt, bath salt.
Bath salts. No bath salts. Okay. Fuck.
Here, so I would say that is a valid thought process. The cost, however, is you are incriminating an innocent person.
Yeah, that I wouldn't do at all, because we can't. And it's not a good enough incrimination for Michael's perfectionist kind of.
Yeah, I was going to say that will result in a stain. If you do that, that is a valid option, but that does result in a stain if you execute on this because you are incriminating an innocent person.
Okay. I say we fuck up the rest of the body.
Okay.
Can we tear it up into small enough bits to flush down the toilet? Just kidding.
So my actual answer.
Standing in the middle of a murder scene right now. There's blood all over the place. There's like chunks of body. She's eating into the liver, but like the rest of him is.
Blood.
Yeah.
So my answer to that, by the way, would be yes, except for the skeleton, which is going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a utility closet in this bathroom? Like, do they have like a little place where they're keeping all like the stuff that they clean and things?
No.
Okay. Fuck. I wish there was a map like we have for Mothership to see the layout of the building we're in and like see where it is.
So here, let me kind of paint visually for you a little bit. So from the bathroom, so the bathroom is basically in the back of the front of the store. Okay, so if you're in the front of the store, then there's a bunch of bar stools that go up against the window. There's like a bar seating at the window.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of booths along one side of the wall and tables in the middle. And then on the wall so if you were walking in, it'd be on your right, opposite the booths, is where there are a whole bunch of like menus are up on the wall, like they're giant menus.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the front of the store is where the food prep is, and the alcohol is served. And then so to the side of that and behind that is where the bathrooms are. So the hallway to the bathrooms is kind of blocked by the booths.
Okay. Indeed. Shit.
Link won't work either.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is she any closer to being done with her like eating?
I would say that she's basically finished off with as much of the liver as she's going to eat.
Is she like drinking? Is she satiated? Is she like aware? Like, is she back to like being cognizant?
Not really. She's kind of like kind of zoned out on this at this point. She is the flap that she bit. So when she bit into the dude's side and ripped him open, like a lot of skin came loose. And so she's kind of like absent-mindedly like peeling the skin off and like eating it like it's like skin of chicken.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit balls.
We got to get her out of here.
We got to get us out of here, and I don't know how we're going to cover this fucking thing. Is there any way we could like damage the? I think we need to like damage his sides a little bit more, just so like there's no teeth left.
I mean, there's the I would say the damage here looks at this point looks more animalistic than it does like a kindred does. It's not like they're two fang marks. Like she straight up like stripped out his side here, so no worries about anybody thinking that it was a kindred. Werewolf, maybe.
Okay,
Mm.
then we're just leaving. Like, how is she looking?
I mean,
Covered in blood,
yeah,
obviously, but
she's
like,
covered in gore.
We gotta at least wash up her face,
yeah.
and then maybe I'll put. Well, my jacket's too big.
No, your jacket's not too big.
Mm-mm. You want it to wrap
It's an
around.
Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
we need to wash up her face and hands, and then wrap her in my jacket, and then just try and get the fuck out.
And Vic, when you pull the door, see if you can jam it really well.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys are to clarify the action here. You guys are basically going to try to clean her off as much as possible.
Get the chew toy away from her.
Put the jacket around her, and then attempt to just scoot out the front and just leave the two bodies.
I guess. I mean, it's better than taking the bodies out with us. I don't want to.
Like, I mean, there's no way for us to get out of the bathroom without being seen. There's no way to get the bodies out of the bathroom without being seen. The day is almost here. We don't want to die out here. It's horrific, but it doesn't look like a vamp, and it doesn't look like a masquerade breach, even though it can be registered as one.
The only thing I'm worried about is cameras, but I don't think we have anyone with us that can do anything about the cameras right now. That would be kind of Al's wheelhouse.
Can I do a sense the unseen right now?
I will tell you that there is literally nothing magical or unseen in that bathroom.
Okay, sweet, awesome. I'm gonna like step outside really quickly, or stick my head outside, try to see if there's anything on the other side of the door or whatever, using my body to block.
When you stick your head out the door, there are not many people inside the building. You see a wino who is basically sitting at the bar drinking something. You can hear people rattling around behind the counter, like in the kitchen area, but it doesn't sound like there's anybody who's like up at the front. So in terms of traversing the actual inside of the building, you're pretty fine. The issue is that the party that you left, that you took these people from, are hanging out in front of the building, waiting for their friends, and you can see them from the bathroom.
Okay.
Is there only one way in and out in this place?
Yeah.
Through the front area, yes. Now, obviously, if you wanted to attempt to either hop the counter and head through that way, or attempt to go through the door that's behind you and try to figure that out, that's may give you other options.
As I look at the hallway, how many cameras and do I clock, and do I see any anywhere?
You definitely see that there's one camera, but it is forward facing, like it's facing the
Front door.
The front door and where people would be coming up to order.
Okay,
like it's not facing the hallway. So you're not entirely sure. And again, it also looks like it's not a particularly great camera. It might be the kind of camera where everything is in that lovely green and lesser dark green security CCTV thing. So maybe it's got clear pictures of you. Maybe it doesn't.
What do you think? I'm gonna. Hey Vic, do you think? I think I'm gonna try and check out the back, see if I can look through that door.
Okay.
Make sure you only let me in. Then like I slip out really quietly, and since I'm always like glamorously gothic, I stick to the walls and try and check out the door. Keep an eye out for like cameras and stuff.
So when you get to the door actually opens reasonably easily and allows you to poke your head in. You get the real harsh whiff of cigarette smoke as soon as you open that door. When you peek in, it is a long hallway that basically goes down the back from like where the kitchen ends, and then goes all the way down. And you think that there's maybe like an office in between the kitchen space and where the bathroom is.
Right.
And then there is a back door back there, but you can definitely hear or smell at least people smoking back there.
Right. Okay, cool. Fuck.
That's better than a camera, though.
Yeah, because I could use either or don't.
I was gonna say
So one of my plans,
Michael is very charismatic.
yeah, like my like the plans that are coming into my mind right now is either I try to draw everybody's attention at the bar away from you and baby girl, and that way like they see me. Um, we could probably like bring friend that's drowsy out of there too, and like curl him up in a booth.
You could try it.
So bring the friend that's all right. Jam the door with a friend that's like not all right. Get rid of as many fingerprints as we possibly can. See if we can break the door upon closing enough to like jam it up or something. Like Vic, you could probably like just use like a roll of toilet paper as like a wedge in between the doorknob. And then like so one is either distraction where we drop off dude that's not completely in pieces in the corner, hide that dude. He doesn't know what the hell is going on. We can say the other dude like left off and then like leave through the front.
Okay, so to clarify, you're going to
There's
you're
the,
going
that's one option.
okay.
Another
I will let
option
you guys continue.
is the distraction, and the other option is go towards the back and then charm whoever's over there.
So what are you guys gonna do?
Yeah.
I guess the distraction would be pertinent because at least it would take eyes off of Westy, so nobody kind of like sees a girl in an oversized jacket being escorted off the premises.
Okay, so what is the set of actions that you're going to take? You're going to kind of in order walk me through the.
Okay, in order, as simple as possible. Make sure homie who's just passed out is licked and ready to go. Westy's cleaned off, covered up. I'm gonna like make it as cute as possible so it's not looking like weird.
Okay.
Flush whatever pieces we can down the toilet. Grab drunk guy and like a full toilet pit.
While she's cleaning up Westy, I'm wiping down fingerprints.
Okay.
get like one of like because you know how like they all have like partially used like rolls of toilet paper everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So grab one of the ones that are like pretty decent. So like if you actually wedge it between two door jams, it's going to be enough to like create a tension mount.
Fold it over a few times.
No, man, like you're strong enough, you can take a full roll of toilet paper and go boom, and then fuck
Oh,
everybody.
you're talking about a whole. I thought you were talking about just like the inside of the roll, like the little cardboard part of the.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, I guess something a little bit more human. Sorry, I'm like, let's be strong. No, don't be strong. Yeah. Jam the thing, get out of there, put him in the booth, like under the table, and like spill some drinks on him.
Okay, how are you gonna get drinks?
There's drinks. I'm sure there's drinks left on the table.
No, it's late enough. They've already cleaned up. Like they're.
Are the lights on?
Yeah, we're starting to head towards that point.
Okay, but they're not on yet. Okay, perfect. So we're just gonna go ahead and just like tuck him there. Yeah, I mean, like if he's on the ground, it's still gonna be a little sticky and smelly.
Okay.
Like just curled up and sleeping under the booth. And then before the lights go on, I'm gonna go to the bartender and just be like, "Hey, round for the no. Yeah, if nobody's paying attention and doing their own thing, and the high lights aren't on, let's just get the fuck out of here." And I'm gonna go ahead and talk to the guys.
Okay, so you guys, when you take the body out,
right? Okay.
And walk him out, sliding him into a booth, and he just kind of falls over and is kind of laying there asleep. Door behind you is wedged. When you get out the front, you've had no instance up here. Once you get out the front, the friends immediately are like.
So this is where I'd like to employ the distraction.
Okay, so what are you gonna do?
This is when I would like to sorry, I just switched when instead of at the bar, once I walk out to the friends. So I'm gonna walk out to the friends first.
Okay.
And
so when you get out,
me to go out the back, or you want me to go out the front?
I guess if I'm distracting them good enough, I'd like you to go out the front.
Okay, so when you get out the front, they are immediately like, "Hey, that took a while. Is everything okay? Where are they? Where are our friends?" So what do you do?
I'm gonna be like, your friends are just closing up their tab. We had a little bit of fun. They should be out soon.
They're kind of like, "Oh, okay."
I feel okay. Sorry, guys. Full disclosure, this is totally meta. I am very, very much in pain today. I am trying very much to focus mentally.
I need you to roll your manipulation.
Okay.
And your persuasion. So 2, 3, 5, 4, and 1 roll.
Oh. Rolling scripts. You said 4 and 1?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yes, I like it.
So.
Could I roll any of those? Or?
I was going to say, if you'd like, you can
Reroll the
attempt
0.
to re-roll the 0.
Yeah, I would like to re-roll that 0,
So
please.
the willpower to re-roll. Okay, go for it.
I would really, really like to re-roll that one.
Okay, so on a margin of 5, they are, well, they were initially suspicious and did not really were not believing what you were said. You were convincing enough that they were like, oh, okay, and they kind of go back to talking amongst themselves. You think that maybe one of them is kind of keeping an eye on you, giving you a little bit of side eye, but the majority of the group at this point has gone back to just waiting on their friends. So with that, you guys exit and head back to the club with your new kindred, or head back to the apartments.
The apartments.
Apartments, probably, if we're that close to sunup.
Oh no, we also have all those new people.
New people.
We're still on like day 1 of the trial phase. So I would really like to. I'm going to call ahead and call Al and see how everything's with the closing up and the shutting down of the new day. If everything's okay, we're going to head to the apartments. If not, I'm going to have Vic take her to my place and check in.
So Al, you, from being back at the club, between the clubs and the apartments, you would know that basically after you got done with your meeting with Eugene and headed back down to the club, everything's basically been taken care of. The club is wrapped up. Jack, the new guy, went home. Both Declan and Kennedy also left. Jen actually was among the last to leave. It was really only basically once everybody was like, okay, well, bye, that she kind of meandered off. So the club is closed at this point.
Okay, then I guess we just go to the apartment.
So heading to the apartment, before you guys bow out, what do you do with Westy? Do you bring Westy up with you, Michael, or?
Yeah, I bring her home with me.
Okay. Where do you put her? Do you just put her on your couch? Do you take her to bed with you? What do you do?
Oh, she comes to bed with me.
Okay. Al. Hearing them stumble in and heading off to all of their individual domiciles and apartments, you know you've still got some time. What do you do with your morning? With all of this new information that's been imparted to you by Eugene?
I mean, being this late in the morning, early morning, I think I'd just like try to fully take in everything that, is discussed and just try to figure out the next action, for the next day. I don't think I'd do anything particular.
No phone calls, no research, nothing like that.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the
Actually, that was my
recap.
question. Like, if we wanted to,
Was there not a recap?
I haven't gotten to the recap from last week.
That's why I'm blanking. Okay. I was like, I thought I forgot to do something today. Read the recap, but there is no recap. So can you give me a small bit of me and Eugene's discussion, just so I can?
Yes. So when you went to Eugene, you had told him the entire story about what had happened
Right.
with Ruby, and now with Jen showing up. And in short, his response to you was that there are a couple separate options here. One, if Diablerie is involved, the biggest risk for Diablerie, particularly of a young kindred or a high generation kindred, of drinking somebody who is much stronger than them,
Right.
is them being actually having the stronger kindred pulled into their body.
And I think I asked if the host would consciously know, right?
Yes, and his answer was that there are multiple different things that could happen. That there's been
Okay.
times when the older vampire suddenly finds themselves in a brand new body with experiences and memories they can't really account for. Sometimes it ends up being kind of a two minds occupying the same space,
Right.
and ending up driving them both kind of insane because of it.
Goblin.
But he also did tell you that that depending on the time, that this is not a situation that can be that is impossible to undo. It's just very difficult to undo. He also told you that regarding Jen, he said that the other possibility here is that this is an illusion, or that this is flesh crafting. Though the discussion on that point ended up with there being not a whole lot of reason on why it would be flesh crafting, as it would not make a whole lot of sense for somebody to have to go through that kind of extraordinary pain to look like somebody from your past without having
Damn good reason.
Well, right, and then just kind of plunking you down and randomly showing up at the bar, like that's a lot of torturous process to go through.
Yeah.
For
but
not
it
a lot
also
of guaranteed
sounds,
return.
Oh, it sounds a lot like the dude we let go.
Abraham.
Thank you.
And you do still know that there's a set of creepy warehouses out there.
Ooh, yeah. Do we still have that list of side quests?
I haven't updated it. Well, long list of things that needs to get done. So
it's kind of like it's like Lost.
This
You know,
like
you know you have
ADHD life where like there's a million things started, not a goddamn thing finished at all.
No, it's very much like Lost. Like they lay down the big mysteries, but then they keep putting new shit in front of you. So like it takes. Yeah. I mean. I'm trying to think if there even is anyone to call based on this information at this point. I mean, I pretty much got it from the source. Eugene was, you know, as far as I can tell, trustworthy in what he told me, so I think the main concern would, like, I'm thinking it's definitely the first option at this point, with as strong as Shaw was. And so it's probably something that I'd like to bring up with the other coterie members before jumping any gun and making any decisions.
Fair. So you're not going to do anything
just yet.
Or I might preemptively send a text to the core group saying, I need to speak with everyone immediately upon waking up.
Okay. So with that, you retire to your apartment's bed where Lane is already snoring. And with that, the Philadelphia sun is already overhead. It is going to be a humid, hot day. The sun passes overhead. People walk across the city. They listen to the ball game of the Phillies kicking the shit out of the Padres. They have car accidents. They meet new friends. They fall in love. They break up. All of this are things that you are ignorant to as you sleep the sleep of the dead. as the sun starts to crash out of the sky. Al, you waken. You've got your hour before everybody else is up. What do you do?
I'm racking my brain as to who beyond Eugene might have information on some kind of transformation like this.
This was actually a question I wanted to ask out of the game too. Like, let's say we wanted to increase our knowledge on something. Like, is there such thing as a vamp library?
So the answer to that is kind of multi-tiered.
Yes, but not for us because it's in the camp.
Not even so much that. It's so there are oftentimes kindred who keep libraries of grimoires and ancient texts and histories and things like that. There are such a thing as vampire historians, of course, the most famous being Beckett. The issue is most of those are in private collections. It's not necessarily that they are affiliated. Of course, the CAM have many of the princes have very large collections. The Tremere were, of course, incredibly covetous of any sort of ancient tomes and things like that. But oftentimes Nosferatu will be incredibly covetous of information on particular topics. The historians, there are the traveling historians, again, of course, Beckett, are also valuable fonts of information. It's one of those things where it's, in order to better to answer your question in the most roundabout way possible, is to say, yes, there are sources of information out there on these on fairly esoteric topics, but that information is almost always going to be blocked by who you know and if they've got access to it. In a more roundabout way, to answer the question that you were asking, Al, as to who you could ask questions of, people that you would assume or know to have a lot of information available. Carmine, in particular, the Hecata in general, would have a fairly vast amount of information about the dead, what happens when you die, what happens to kindred when they die, what happens when you kill a kindred. That tends to lean more on the educational side and less on the they turn to dust asshole. The Nosferatu would be a source of information for things like that. But given the fact that you have not heard from any Nosferatu and all of your calls have gone unanswered, particularly after Gigi's death, it's likely that they have other things that they are attending to. Similarly, the Tremere are also a source of information, but you've already gone to Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
So without having something to further that discussion, it's probably unlikely he's going to be able to give you much in return. And again, also without the other members of the Tremere there to provide different perspectives, it's unlikely that even with what you've got, you'd have much to do. Now, if they were all there, of course, there might be different perspectives, different anecdotal evidence, blah 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 blah. But it is what it is.
I think I would just be planning on asking Michael to set up a meeting with Carmine and see if I can pick his brain.
I would also have said, if we are leaning into the, shall we say, perhaps less friendly or less likely to help, but certainly possessing of that information, Renato, as the Prince of Philadelphia, would certainly have access to. If he couldn't tell you what that information was, he could certainly point you in the direction thereof.
If he wanted to.
If he wanted to, or if
he really doesn't want to.
If he could be convinced to do so.
Renato has been the nicest of the members on the council. I'm not saying he's
nice at all, but yeah.
Niceties can hide a lot of ill intent.
So I probably would at least confer with Michael on that meeting happening as well. I know that Carmine would be easier to line up.
And of course, in terms of information that should not be probably possessed by anybody, Abraham is lurking out there.
And I'm sure we can put the word out for people to keep their eyes open.
No, that wouldn't be smart. That's how you start a panic.
We don't have to explain who he is unless you think he's already garnered that much of a reputation.
Oh,
the way that Gigi reacted? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, this is bad.
Well, he had been,
us letting him out was very bad for the whole fucking world. So we're in this shit that's like a mess. That's like we let out a nuclear bomb and we don't know where it is, but it's about to go off somewhere.
The good thing is no one knows we let him out.
Yet.
we blame
There's
it
a
on
lot of
Fairchild.
yet. There's a lot of yet. So like
We
the
blamed
fact
it on
that he's
Fairchild.
working
He's
out
dead.
there. True. Still.
Haddonfield knows, and he's in the wind. That could be a problem later. Could be.
This could be a big problem later.
Haddonfield didn't know. He got staked. He was in torpor when it happened.
When he wasn't in torpor when Abraham
he went
released.
to answer the door and Fairchild staked them. So when they came into the room and everything, and we were trying to figure out what to do, like that was all done. He was already staked and out.
Was he?
As far as I know.
That sounds familiar, but you also took him with you, and things were explained in post. So
yeah, that's what I remember. The post. That like we sat him down.
I thought we purposefully explained to him that Fairchild let him out. Like we didn't tell him that it was us, but I could be wrong.
I don't recall that. I would need to go back and look at the notes to specify that exactly.
I thought we were keeping that close to the vest. I thought that was one of the things me and Scott were pretty good about, but I could be wrong.
We're not very good at keeping things close to the vest.
Idaho's best thing he was at keeping close to the vest, his nipples.
Yes.
So, Alice, what are you doing? Who are you? Are you reaching out to somebody? What is your next step with this?
I'd probably text Jen and just kind of hey, how did your first night go? Shall we be seeing you again? Just making sure I'm keeping a ongoing tabs with her, and trying to prepare for the possibility of meeting up with Carmine.
She texts you back almost immediately. Just woke up. She sends you a picture. It's not to say lascivious so much as it is perhaps a little forward. It's her in like a kind of baby doll style metal band shirt with a pair of boys briefs on, and her hair still in pigtails. She's texting. Just woke up. She goes. My first night was actually shoveling shit. Winky face. Jesus.
So like anything was an improvement from that.
She goes, but last night was fine.
I typed back, well, I meant first night on the bar, but yes, I am still very thankful for your service in the basement.
In response to our coming back, she's like, yeah, unless you're telling me, texting me to tell me that I'm fired.
Not at all.
She texts back. She goes, "See you in a bit."
And be safe. I'd probably at that point wait and see if I can catch Michael leaving the apartment. No, I don't know. I've got a bit of a head start at this point. Well, wait a minute. If this is in my pre-hour
Mm-hmm.
and Jen's awake,
Just woke up.
but the sun is still out.
The sun at this point has started to recline to the point where it is technically evening. The sun is still slightly above the horizon, but it is not completely above the horizon.
I'm just trying to see if she has some of the same attributes that I do.
So kindred in general, tend to wait until the sun is down to sleep. However, some kindred do wake up as the sun is going down and have to be very careful when they first wake up.
Okay.
Some kindred are like Mr. Starwell and will sleep in well past the point when the sun goes down. There are some kindred who awake way ahead of time for reasons similar to your own.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's that entire class of thin bloods who are out, you know.
But suffice it to say, if Jen is awake, then it's pretty much safe for Michael to be waking up.
Yeah, you would assume
Okay.
that at this point, even if you headed up there, even if Michael was not awake, Michael would be waking.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so you're going to head up to Michael's? Okay.
Yep.
Vic, as you wake up, what are your first actions? What are you doing?
I guess just heading up with Michael. I wanted to make sure Wisteria was okay after last night. Make sure that everything was good.
So you're also heading up to Michael's apartment then?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. So everybody meets up at Michael's apartment. When you guys get up there, Michael, as you're waking up, Westy wakes up minutes after you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of yawns, kind of sluggishly climbs out of bed, and then there's like a moment where she's like, "Where am I?"
Mm-mm.
And be like, you're in my apartment.
When you talk and she realizes you're there, like she startles and she's like, "Oh fuck." She reaches up and like touches her face and like licks her fingers and like swipes at her face, and when some of the dried blood that is on her mouth is there, she kind of gawps for a moment. She's like, "I thought it was a dream. I thought it was a dream."
No, unfortunately, love, that was no dream. That was last night. How do you feel this morning?
She's like, hungrier than I was last night. She was like, she's like, what happened to? She's kind of like playing things back in her mind. This would be about the point when both Vic and Al would show up.
Hold on a second. That would be the rest of our coterie. And I would go and open the door and look, just like open it, say like, "What's up, guys?"
Hey, just thought I'd check on you in Wisteria.
We both just woke up. But come on in. And as I let them in, I'm gonna be like, Westy, this is the rest of my family. This is Vic and Alice.
She gives you guys
And
a very, very shallow, like, wave and nod. And then she very, very purposefully, like, walks out of the room and into your bathroom, and you can hear the shower turn on and dry heaving from in the shower.
oh my god, let's give her a minute.
So, Michael, I had an interesting discussion with Eugene about Jen, and he's given me a lot to think about. One point that was mentioned was that in a situation like Ruby's, that there is the possibility that by diablerizing someone like Shaw, it was
Mhm.
possible for him to essentially be absorbed into her body. There could be two consciousnesses coinciding in there.
So he could be like, there could be a war of him trying to dominate her inside her own head. Okay. Poor Ruby.
I mean, there were other scenarios mentioned, but seemed a little less likely, like flesh crafting. Like, who would go through that effort? And why create something as beautiful as Ruby? Why not some horrible, horrific thing that would, scare the shit out of us?
Yeah, most flesh crafters I know of don't go for perfection. They go for the really weird.
Yeah.
But
So,
what better way to exploit our weakness than giving us a carbon copy of somebody
again,
who we refuse to abandon?
I'm gonna work from most likely scenario to the
From
weird
what I got,
ones.
from what I got from Gigi, this might be a touch of Abraham.
I had thought of that, but Abraham being in the wind, I figure Carmine might be a better one to ask about, at least the first possibility. Do you think you would be interested in setting up a meeting with him?
Yeah, I have some things to ask him myself. I would like to get to know some more about the history of our kind.
Sounds like it could be a fruitful meeting.
As a note, you do have a coterie member who is actually owed a favor, owed a boon by Carmine.
Yeah, Carmine knows me a boon.
So you should come with us too, Vic. And I don't want to leave Westy behind because
Use my boon.
Give her the night off.
I mean, she has
Wisteria
anything but a night on yet.
Wisteria still needs to be watched. She can't be left alone right now.
She'll come with us.
You really think that's a good idea?
It's better than leaving her here.
Is it a slowish night for the club? Could we not assign her a babysitter?
I mean, she is mine.
She's hungry.
She's extremely hungry. She's very dangerous, and she's also my responsibility, especially in these early days. So right now, yeah, she goes where I go.
All right.
We already saw what happened last night. We don't want a repeat of that. So,
before you guys, okay, first, are you what is your plan? Are you planning on just heading to Carmine's and basically showing up, or are you attempting to call ahead? Who is calling ahead? How are you doing this?
I'm gonna call ahead and leave a message if I can.
So when you call to Carmine's, or when you call Carmine's number, it picks up after about 3 rings, and Nora on the other end is, hello?
Hello, this is Nora, right?
Yeah.
Uh, can you tell Carmine that we're coming for a social call later this evening? We'd like to drop by.
There's a brief pause, and she goes, okay, I'll tell him.
Thank you so much, Nora.
She says, is this about anything in particular?
A few things in particular, but nothing too heavy.
There's a
Hopefully.
very brief pause, and Nora goes, oh well. She goes, we'll see you when you get here.
See you shortly.
The phone hangs
Thank you,
up.
Nora. Yeah.
Before you depart for Carmine's, are there any things that you want to take care of?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely still need to tend to Wisteria, and would like to check in with Al about the bar in general and like how the noobs are doing.
So when you are, so you guys are there in the apartments. You guys can ask questions regarding Wisteria. The shower is very much still going, although the dry heaving has stopped.
I have to go attend to her, so if you guys can go check on the bar and make sure everything's settled before we take off to Carmine's.
Yeah, I was gonna go check on the
All right.
Romano and Harvey and Jack, so I can.
We'll try to.
over
Awesome. Thank you, Vic. Thanks. And I'm gonna try and get her ready as fast as possible and meet you guys there.
Al, what are you doing?
I guess I'm going with Vic over to the club. That was what was stated.
Okay, so very
Unless
brief.
there's other things you want to take care of, obviously, guys.
So very brief, kind of split scene going down the line. Vic, when you get to the front door, Harvey and Romano are already there, getting things set up, getting the booth set up for checking IDs and things like that. Jack shows up. He looks a little harried. The most notable thing that you smell before you see it is that his hands are still taped up, as if he's been fighting recently, and 2, those tapes are covered in blood.
I'll intercept before he gets to the front door and try and pull him off to the side.
Jack's
You
like,
forgot something.
he's like, hey, boss, sorry, I couldn't sleep last night. Went to West Philly Hustle and was working out till early this morning, and then I couldn't sleep, and then somebody tried to jump me on the way to the bus, and he holds his hands up and he goes, he points to his eye, which you can see is starting to swell up a little bit. He's like, he sucker punched me, but as they say, you should see the other guy.
Oh, I'm sorry you got jumped. Let's see if we can at least get the tape off your hands and get you cleaned up a little bit. Anything I can do for you?
He's like, yeah, we got some Red Bull. He's like,
I'm sure we do behind the bar. I can
he's like, I'm gonna be fucking chugging those all night long.
Soft drinks are free for anybody who works at as much as they want. Just, you know.
What else do you do, Vic?
And once I get the tape off of his hands, at least, take him inside, check, make sure Romano and Harvey are okay, and then I guess I'll head in toward the bar with him.
So one thing, when you're helping him get the tape off his hands, the one thing that you do notice, Vic, is that his hands are more calloused from fighting than yours are.
Ooh.
Like, in terms of, like, you and Romano have, often compared, hands or, and other war wounds from your time, working as mob enforcers. Jack's hands are almost completely covered in hard calluses. Like, this is not the like the soft hands of somebody who's never done a day's hard work in their life. This dude has put his time in. So when you head inside with him to the bars, what are you doing when you head in?
I'm just letting him know where he can get the Red Bulls. Like, you can get Red Bulls from the bar here. They should have them over here. And let's get you to the bathroom and get you cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, Rob. The closest one to bar, of course, to the entrance is Robin's bar, and she is more than happy to accommodate and quickly ask you if it. Oh, is Mr. Starwell coming? Is he going to be here tonight?
I'm not sure if he's going to make it over. He's dealing with some stuff over at the apartment. We'll see what happens.
Should I go help?
I think he's got it covered right now. But
the most we can help is staying right here.
Yeah, we're going to need someone at the bar, so we'll need you here for sure.
She's like, okay,
helping, darling.
I can
you.
Do that.
Thanks for the offer, though.
Hi, sweetness.
Al, when you head to your bar, what Kennedy is already there, setting up. Jen is helping Kennedy set up the bar. She's already in the process of trying to set up your well and everything the way that she vaguely remembers you like it.
And is Declan there yet?
Declan is there working
Okay.
on the other bar with Lane.
And is she again, ready to kill him?
I'm sorry, what?
Is she like ready to kill him?
I
remember, I know he's pissed at her for not being into him, but I'm misremembering. He did not hit her on her nerves. It was. Never mind.
Okay. Al. So what are you?
I would probably. Well, my first question: how busy of a night is it? This weeknight, weekend? What are we looking at here?
When you walked up, there was not a whole lot of people outside, and you also know from the sheer amount of humidity, it's not likely to start off being particularly busy.
Okay.
It might pick up a little bit later as the humidity tapers off and it gets a little cooler and people decide to go out. But at least early on in the evening, you know as a fact that it's probably going to be kind of Deadsville.
Then I would gather those three at the bar and just basically do a check-in. How's everybody doing?
Declan has shown up tonight dressed super sexy. He's got kind of like a pair of faux leather pants on that have like a snakeskin pattern that is green turning to yellow. He's got on matching cowboy boots. Both of these are riding so low on his hips that like you can see the V basically going all the way down. He's wearing
just follow the happy trail.
Yeah. He is wearing a.
He's that guy that dances with Cloud in the remake.
Mm-hmm. No, he's brother.
He's got on like a like a short sleeve polo, that has been like a button up that's been opened like all the way. Like there's only like 2 or 3 bottom buttons at the very bottom that are done, like basically exposing everything that's above the line. He is, between that and his makeup, like he is just oozing rock star.
He's even got the Gene Simmons tongue.
Oh, he definitely has that. Kennedy is dressed, in terms of being flamboyant, like almost the polar opposite. Kennedy's shown up tonight. Sleek black loafers, black pants, a white short sleeve shirt with a black bow tie, the conductor's hat on. Very, very pristine, prim. Jen has shown up, basically like she's going to a metal concert. Metal, steel-toe boots, black cargo pants, a black Johnny Cash shirt, backward hat, and her signature pigtails, and no makeup. Declan seems like he is more effusive about his talking about what's going on, how the previous night was. He's more detailed about the customers, things like that. He's a lot more easygoing and a lot more talkative. Kennedy, on the other hand, is very yes, no, everything's fine.
Nope. Yeah.
Not to the point of being antisocial or off-putting or standoffish, but
just bare minimum to
no wasting of words. Kennedy, they are not a particularly vocal personage. Jen, on the other hand, is pretty much like, it was fine. His job was good. It was fun. Whatever.
Has Lane been by the bar yet, or making rounds, or where's Lane?
Lane is at the bar while you're having your kind of little powwow with the three of them. Lane is at the bar setting her bar up.
I would wave her over.
She comes over and she's kind of like, "Hey, what's up?"
So, being that I don't think you guys are gonna get slammed tonight, I've got an errand to run with Michael. I'm not exactly sure how long, but I don't think it's gonna take all night. Do you guys feel comfortable here with Lane? Lane, are you comfortable with handling things while I'm gone?
She snaps her fingers at Declan and she says, "Since you've got more experience," she says, "we're making a quick staffing change." She says, "We're putting you on the main bar with Kennedy." She says, "Since I know you can bartend." She's like, "And you're just going to have to bar back for yourselves." And then she kind of snaps her fingers at Jen. She goes, "You're on my bar." And Jen's like, "Okay."
Now, have they departed for their stations? It's just me and Lane?
Yes. At this point, Jen starts to head over to Lane's bar and starts kind of looking around. She doesn't touch anything, of course, because she doesn't know how Lane wants her stuff set up. Meanwhile, you can already hear Declan attempting to kind of rib at Kennedy and kind of trying to get him to open up a little bit, and you can see Kennedy's doing everything that they can not to roll their eyes or be hostile, but that Declan is very, very obviously they're polar opposite in terms of personality. Lane is like, where y'all headed? Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm still investigating our new hire, and I nudge towards Jen. I said, I'm finding out some very interesting things that could connect Jen to Ruby, but it's gonna take some investigating and getting some other information I just don't have. And so we were going to visit Carmine tonight and have a bit of a powwow as Michael has some questions as well. So that's where I'm heading off to. So I appreciate you handling things here.
She says, yeah, we've got it. As long as I don't have to deal with Robin's whiny.
Oh God, tell me about it.
She's like, she's fine. She's good at her job. She's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
This is fine meme. It's fine. It's fine. Everything.
So what do you do then?
Text Michael asking if he's ready to go.
Michael, what do you do? You have a showering Westie who is attempting to clean the blood off. What are you doing?
I knock on the. Is it like a shower door or is it like a curtain?
Shower door.
I mean, I'm assuming he likes to watch, but whatever. And I just like I knock on the door and I open it up and I as I see her like trying out and I'm like, here, let me help you get all that off. I know what I'm doing.
She has actually done a pretty good job at this point of getting all of the blood off. She's really just kind of standing there in the shower, with kind of a distant look in her face, like she's trying to process all of this. When you open the shower door, she looks at you and she says, "Am I a cannibal?"
No, you aren't human anymore. You need to be a human to be a cannibal. And I try to like run my hand through her hair, make sure she's gotten all like chunks and stuff.
She lets you. She's kind of like, I used to watch vampire movies when I was a kid. She's like, but like they drank blood. She's like, and then you gave me that blood, and she's like, it was just like the water. I couldn't keep it down. And then we found those people, and he smelled really good. Not like people smell good when they're sexy. Like
steak smells good on a summer evening.
Yeah. She goes, I was fucking vegan.
I was about to say it. Son of a bitch. I was like, mark my words, she's a vegan before all this bullshit.
She was like, I worked so hard to stay vegan.
I'm sorry I took that away from you.
She kind of looks up at you and she goes, This is the way it is, isn't it? Like there's no going back, is there?
This is the way.
This is the life. If you want more life, if you aren't ready to let go of it, this is what you have at your hands. If you don't want this, it's the same exit as being a human. Only a little bit more steps.
She kind of shakes her head and she's like, no, that's not me. She goes, I don't know who this new me is, but that's not me.
Well, I'm here while you help figure it out. I brought you into this dark world, and I'm here for you, whatever you need.
She looks at you, and she gets kind of like big puppy dog eyes, and then she goes, towel?
I can do that.
Question is, are you gonna have clothes that fit her?
Figure something out.
And on that point, before we get into the depths of Michael Starwell's closet, we're going to go take a bio break.
Yes, thank you.
Right. All right, everybody. Truffles, get down.
Mine too.
They hover.
Hi,
All right, everybody. We're gonna take our bio break. We'll be back in a few. Yeah. So stick with us and let's see where this evening goes. We're back, everybody. Welcome to the playground. I'm Pixie Phoenix. I'm a full-time variety streamer here on Twitch. You're joining us tonight for our live-action role-playing session of Vampire the Masquerade, Philly by Night. This is our session 59. I'm joined tonight by Nox, our storyteller, Zack, who plays Victor,
Heyo.
Martha, who plays Michael, and I'm your Alice, and we'll jump back into it.
So, as the four of you meet up to head to Carmine's,
Housekeeping?
we do indeed need to do housekeeping since it's a brand new night.
You're like that kid in school that on Friday at 3:15 you were like, "Don't we have homework?" That's you, Martha. That's you.
Sometimes. I actually was that person sometimes. It was
Me
really
too,
bad.
actually.
If it was a class I really liked, then yeah, it was the worst. Because my head all of a sudden, I was getting finally I was being stimulated, and I was like, this feeling needs to last forever. Bingo, guys.
Yeah.
Anybody?
I was going to make the comment and be like, when most people when they're getting stimulated are also like, I'd like to make this last forever. But anyways. All right. So Vic gets hungrier, Al gets hungrier, Michael doesn't. So
Before we go,
okay.
I'd like to ask, have I heard of Westy's type of vampire before?
Not specifically. You've certainly heard about vampires that had what is somewhat derisively called an iron gullet, where they are able to drink dead blood or rotten blood or blood that has been centrifuged out and has fractionated plasma or rancid blood or even diseased blood and not have any sort of issue. You've heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
But a kindred who is actively consuming
Living organs,
like organs, that is something somewhat new.
and nothing that was stated during our interactions with Shaw or the other Sons of Cain, like prophecies and stuff that might have been thrown at us. Okay, thank you.
So, as you guys drive down south, heading towards Carmine's funeral home, taking a slightly longer way to stay within at least Anarch-friendly territories. When you get to the funeral home and pull up in front, Westy gives you kind of a strange look and is like, what are we doing here?
You did. Okay.
We are paying a visit to some friends who know more about things that we need to know about right now.
She says your friends hang out at a funeral home. Isn't that a little on the nose?
You'd be surprised how many people don't look where it's most obvious.
She's like, okay. As you get out of the car.
Oh, I do turn to her. I was like, listen, this is a very political world. Follow my lead, please.
She's like, okay. She kind of looks around and she's frowning. She she's definitely, that has definitely kind of nudged up against her boundaries. When you get out of the car, Nora is standing there with a hulkingly gigantic man. He is probably, he's got to be pushing, he's well over 6 feet tall, heading towards 7 feet, and he's about the same width and getting close to the same depth. Like, he's massive. He is just solid bulk. Nora nods as you guys come in, and she goes, "Follow me," and starts to walk you through the funeral home. Now, Vic, you've already been here once before, so this is not uncommon, or a sight you have not seen before, I guess I should say. For Michael and Al, when you're walking through these rooms, one, this is kind of the very definition of Gothic decadence. Like, there are stuffed velvet chase lounges with kindred who are laying about and smoking and drinking blood out of champagne glasses and playing chess or backgammon. Everyone here is dressed very extravagantly, but also very formally. It looks a little bit like Shrine of Hollywood had their entire warehouse stolen. But when you guys come in, like, everybody basically stops and just stares. And as you walk up the stairs, like, Westy kind of like looks out into the crowd and kind of gives a look at them. When you get upstairs, the ceiling here is not so low as to where you have to hunch, but it is
Cozy?
It is quite cozy. Again, with the Gothic decadence, actual knights or suits of armor that are standing on pedestals. There are lights in alcoves that are sitting next to small bookcases and overstuffed chairs. Everything here is could be right out of a Gothic horror novel. When you get to a set of double doors, Nora opens them. Now, Vic, you've been in here before. This would have been where you met your daughter. When you step in here, the ceiling in here is much higher here. It goes from being a right over your head ceiling to a soaring ceiling with giant windows that go up the sides, overlooking the cemetery. The walls are covered in books on both sides next to the windows. And there is a giant obsidian desk with a chair that is so tall backed as to be starting to border on like Edward Gorey absurdity here. Sitting behind it is Carmine, who is flanked by Ariel. Sitting across from him is a gentleman you've never seen before. When you enter into the room and Nora announces you, he stiffly stands up and leans across the desk, looking at Carmine, and says, "This discussion is not over." Carmine looks past him at you as you come in and says, "No, it never is." The man storms out.
Are there
Carmine,
any like discernible features of his like that like would indicate a clan or anything?
So far, everyone that you've met here has been Hakata.
Cool.
Carmine stands up and hobbles over to you with his kind of rickety walk that he has, and shakes each of your hands in turn, acknowledging you by name before getting to Wisteria. And he looks her up and down and says, "So, which of you is siring these nights?"
You're muted.
She is mine.
He looks her up and down before turning away and says, "You should be very careful. The current prince, while extending kind hands now, was once known to be extraordinarily firm on that particular tradition."
Thank you for letting us know. It was a way out of a preemptively. Unfortunately, she was a victim of just my acquaintance, and that was not right in my baronet.
Carmine gives what looks like a smile, maybe,
Hmm.
and simply says, "Victims, aren't we all?" He hobbles back to his desk and
I give a
sits
knowing nod.
and says, "I would not have chosen this evening for a visit, as there is much ado about my own home. What do I owe the pleasure?"
A quest for knowledge to preemptively prepare for the coming days.
Ariel looks at you, Alice, and says, kind of looks over your shoulder. He's like, "Aren't you missing somebody?"
That obvious, huh?
You two kind of were inseparable.
Oh, that's actually the reason for my visit. I know we each had, a few things we'd like to speak on, but that was definitely part of the reason for my visit tonight.
We basically have a few new mysteries that popped into our laps, and we'd like to see if we could read any of your tomes and find some answers.
Carmine crosses his hands over in his desk, and he looks at the three of you and says, "And why would I do this? What is in it for me?"
If I recall, I think you owe me a boon.
He says, "I do indeed owe you a major boon." He says, "This seems like an exceedingly poor use of it."
I'd hope
What
to
is
hold
there
on to
that
it
we
for
can offer you? Yeah, don't use your boon. I ask, what is there that we could offer you?
He says, "Well, first we need to find out what the knowledge you're seeking is and why."
Well, let's start from the beginning. Night of the Elysium.
So so here's the where I would say who is explaining this, and what are the details you are leaving in and leaving out.
Okay, so I don't want to really talk about our participation in the release of.
Abraham.
Yes, thank you. I was like,
Oh, I wasn't going to start there. I was starting at
No.
Elysium.
but
Yeah.
I think Alice should take the lead with Ruby and what happened with her and Shaw, and
Okay.
then the immediate appearance of a doppelganger. And the suspicions, and even the crazy ones be like, and as we've learned, nothing's too crazy to take too lightly, kind of thing.
Yeah, I was basically going to start the conversation with just
Yeah.
how much do you know about what happened with Shaw at Elysium?
He looks at you and simply says, "Only what I have been told, which is that the man is now former, and that capped off a, shall we say it, unfortunate series of events."
Well, the topic I'm here to pick your brain about just might open up some new information that might repay for the information I'm asking from you. Does that make sense?
He says, "Not in the least."
Okay. Well, then I will at least start with my questions, and you might understand where I'm going with this. Do you
He,
think Shaw was strong enough in his abilities to take on a new form?
he sits back in his chair and ponders that for a second and says, "Well, I cannot speak to Shaw's age or generation. I do believe that his kind has had accumulated enough power to be considered stronger than most of the city's elders. So, to answer your question as to whether or not I think that someone as young as your previous progeny was woefully unprepared for the endeavor of Diablerie against Shaw, I would have to say yes.
Well, to reveal something to you, we recently had a new
Visitor.
employee, and when they showed up for the interview, fudging a little here, for all intents and purposes, they looked exactly like Ruby. But we were corrected in that this person considered themselves named Jen. There are some minor physical enhancements, but everyone in our bar thought this was Ruby with a dye job. And through some other contacts and minimal research, I was informed that to diablerize one that strong would or could produce an outcome where Ruby, I don't know if possession is the right word, but there's something different about this person.
Even though it's so familiar.
Yes, very much.
He folds his hands over one another on the desk and says, I do not believe that this newcomer into your life is some sort of reincarnation of your progeny. It says, I think if you looked outside of your current social circles and dug a little deeper, you might find answers to your questions, though not answers you particularly want.
Interesting.
Eh? Formative and yet vague. Do you have any connections that might have more information on something like this that you could point me to?
He grimaces and says, no. However, I think the appropriate adage is that the enemy of my enemies are not always my friends. It says, perhaps you should look among those who hate you for a problem they cannot solve. He turns to you, Michael, and says, and what of you?
Okay, 1 second. I say, well, I guess there's a first time for everything. And as I stroke Wisteria's arm and I say, though she is not my first child, she is first of her kind that I've ever seen before.
He waits for you to continue.
She is not thin blood, and yet she has no taste for blood. Thus far, the success was a living liver.
He nods and looks at her and says, a not uncommon flaw. He says, some of our kind are not capable of ingesting the fluids of kind or kindred, and instead must actually consume the flesh and organs.
Damn,
What
that's
happens to
rough.
them generally?
He gives a very, very small shrug and says, they find that they either get exceedingly good at robbing morgues or crime scenes or the recently interred, or they find themselves shall we say, driving their humanity from themselves in their pursuit of food.
And what would you call someone like this?
He chuckles slightly and he says, I believe the technical term is an organivore. However, the more common name is simply cannibal.
At this point, I'm sure she starts crying.
Westy is absorbing this information and is like straight jawed. She's not giving really any emotional resonance here. She's not mouthing off. She's not like trying to. She is doing her best to just listen.
I mean, at that word, my head drops, being like, shit, I can't say anything true, like in my own head.
Like,
And then I
no,
look at
honey, no, you're not a cannibal. Oops.
I wasn't privy to that conversation in the shower either, so I didn't know about that in game. But
He
and I look at him and I say, I'm like, well, it seems that I am in need of your assistance.
Carmine says, this is not as uncommon as you probably would think. Says often the preferred method of intake is still fluid. The kindred in question simply needs to invest in. He
A blender.
snaps his fingers, and when you say that, he goes, preferably something industrial.
Vitamix? $1,000 worth of power can move a scooter and a boat.
He looks at you and he says, your biggest concern will be, of course,
Acquiring.
acquiring. As there is no way to do this that does not involve
Corpses.
or willing donors. And unfortunately, he looks to her and says, "And my apologies if I'm underestimating you." He says, "I don't think you turned a surgeon."
Wasn't one of the last things you told Moira to do was to find
Get a vet.
or
No, a vet. We're setting up a vet.
That's right. Well,
what is the success rate of organophores going, let's say, for our terms, vegetarian?
He thinks about it for a second, and before he can answer, Ariel goes, "Not likely." She says, "You would need a much larger animal. You'd need lots of large animals." She's like, "In fact, you'd need to basically start have a farm that you would be actively replenishing on the regular."
Know anybody in a slaughterhouse?
We know a farm, but
yes, we do.
Not Deck.
Hi, Betykins. Okay, one after the other.
No, there's a group of vampires that doesn't like feeding. No. I was saying this out of game too.
Meta. Okay.
Yeah, there was that group of humans that we came across that they don't drink human blood, so they live on a farm.
Yeah, the farmers. We know. They were brought up against us for some reason. Even though we tried to reach out and be nice to them. Upon no avail. So again, Carmine, I seem to be in your debt or in need of your help. As you being in the mortuary business, have the most likely access to unscandalous and within the Masquerade.
He thinks about it for a long second. Before saying,
Cat puke.
At least you did it on the hard floor, not the carpet.
I cannot tell you how important that is. Like, yay.
2 long hairs, yep.
Oh, it's Lita.
Thinks about it for a very long second before saying,
I gotta go clean it up. She's trying to eat it.
"I do not think that a long-term solution is something that I could offer."
I nod my hand.
He says, "I am sure that there is something in the fridge downstairs that you can take with you. But in a more long-term sense, it is going to be on your progeny to figure out exactly how they are going to hunt." He gestures to Ariel and says, I would concur, however, that if you are attempting to replace humans with some other creature, you will likely need a stable source that is not likely to be missed. Which almost entirely confines you to either cattle ranching or disposal of deer and other creatures found on the roads.
Thank you. As for the temporary solution, I appreciate it. And if there's any more at your disposal, please let me know. I can offer you a boon in the assistance for this small time.
He says, I will accept your minor boon for this assistance. Alice, do you have any further questions?
Meta question. Does Carmine have anything against the Bahari? Would I know?
You have no
I don't
idea.
know yet. Okay.
You could ask him what he thinks of the Bahari versus the Sons of Cain.
Good point. That does open up the conversation I was looking to start. Yeah, I would just try to as casually as possible. I've been doing some research on this subject, and I was just wondering if I could ask your opinion of the Bahari versus the followers of Cain.
Carmine kind of snickers under his breath and says, my
Oh, I
opinion
heard the
is
thunder.
not likely one that you're going to want to hear. He says, I see no use in believing in myths. Says, I have pulled the veil back. I know what lies beyond. Says, I do not need to believe that some dark father or some unholy mother once walked the land.
I appreciate your candidness.
It sounds like he's neither.
Yeah, no, he's an atheist. For
Yep.
sure.
Well, then, just in the name of research, would you have a contact or someone that you might recommend that I could get in touch with to learn more about the Bahari, especially?
You do have one.
I
Sorry, I was saying out of game. But sorry.
He ponders the question for a moment and says, I believe the woman who runs Coat Check at the Dissolved Girl is such a believer.
I've actually met her once. She is quite interesting.
he also says, I have heard rumors that the woman who runs the northeast of Philadelphia is also a believer. Though
Damn.
I expect that your beliefs are not a strong enough point to be on communicative grounds.
All right. Well, thank you for indulging me.
He looks at you and simply says, spend less time pondering our predecessors. Spend more time thinking about your own path forward. Trust me, dead gods offer nothing.
That's one point of view.
One last thing. As Baron of Philadelphia, I would like to expand my knowledge base in regards to ourselves.
His eyebrow raises and he says, "Oh, are you claiming all of Philadelphia for
Oh,
yourself?"
sorry, Jesus Christ. Just thanks. West Philadelphia, born and raised on the street. No. Sorry, I misspoke. Just Philadelphia. That was just my personal ADHD coming out. So thanks. Character does not have it, player does.
As you were saying,
I would like to be able to protect those that are within my area. I would like to also be able to have some insight onto what is coming and paths forward.
Carmine and then looks back at you and says, I think you likely have more on your plate presently than you could handle if you looked into the future.
That is a different perspective.
He stands up and says, the only night we ever have is the one we have this evening. You would be wise to remember that. Ariel says, and speaking of, we unfortunately have other things that we need to do. So
yeah, I get up and I reach out to Carmine and I say, thank you again, Carmine.
He shakes your hand.
I always do enjoy our meetings.
He shakes your hand and nods, and then he looks to Westy and with a barest hint of a grin says, cheer up, young one. There are some kindred who can only slake their thirst on the blood of those much older. He looks to you Alice and says, perhaps this person who has been brought into your life is simply coincidental. Says, that may not be so. But for the death of me, I can't imagine why anyone would go to the work of digging up your dead child and putting their face on.
How does he know she's dead?
Yeah, what makes you say she's dead? A body, as far as I know, has never been recovered.
He looks at you and, raising his head a bit, and says, did you not also tell me that she chose to diablerize an incredibly powerful vampire?
I wouldn't say she decided she was not in her right mind by the insanity of the thirst. I can't very well say that she just walked off that elevator and was like, I'm just gonna kill this mofo.
He says,
And she was gone.
perhaps then the best advice that I could give to you is advice that I'm often giving the living. Take your time to grieve and move on. He turns to you, Vic. And gives you a knowing nod. And says, Madison is not here this evening. I'm sure she is.
I'm sure she's at the Dissolved Girl.
He nods affirmatively. He goes, I hope that you will continue to take that situation seriously.
I do, in fact. We're ramping up staffing at the club so that I can start working over at the Dissolved Girl pretty soon. So
He nods and says, excellent. Well, until then. And he shuffles out of the room, and Ariel says, I'll take you down to the front door. And then once we're down there, if you can wait a minute, I got something for you, girl.
thank you.
Lead on. We will follow you. Thank you.
She takes you back down the stairs.
As excellent. Thank you.
And as you walk down the stairs through the room full of kindred acting very decadent, a few of them kind of lean into one another and murmur amongst themselves as they watch you. When you get to the front door, Ariel, just wait here, and heads back through the room and through a different set of doors. About 5 minutes later, she returns with a package. It's about the same circumference of a football, but not the length. It's like a football was round, perfectly round, wrapped in like butcher's paper. She hands it to Westy and says,
No keyboard for you.
"This will get you through the next day or two." Westy
No.
takes it from her with some trepidation. Is like, thanks. And then Ariel looks at the three of you and says, "Is there anything else you need?"
No, we have taken plenty of your time.
She nods and gives a little bit of a curtsy. And then she heads off.
I take the package from Westy and like slip it inside my breast coat pocket.
Okay.
If it's
There's
possible.
not. I was gonna say that's probably
Like,
not.
is it the size of a fillet? Like, because I know how like is it rolled like, or is it just like a couple of them?
No. It feels like it's about the size of maybe like a small bowling ball.
Okay,
Like it's not
How
something
do-
you could fit easily into a pocket.
got it. Do you have a bag or anything, Al? Do any of us have a bag on a regular basis?
I carry a wallet chain.
So no. All right, let's get out of here.
So, getting in the car, where do you head next?
Back home. I
Actually,
guess.
could you guys drop me at the dissolved girl?
Yeah. Vic, you want to get dropped off there too?
Sure.
All right.
So, the intention, I'm assuming, is that Vic and Al are going to head to the Dissolved Girl, and Michael, you are taking Westy home, or are you also going to hang out?
No, I am taking Westy home to figure out how to feed her
Okay.
and like figure out what's gonna happen. Probably also call not Threnody. Yes. No, Sabine.
Mm-hmm.
So, split scene. When you get to the opening of the Dissolved Girl, Al and Vic, again, there is the bouncer who's at the end of the pier. When you walk up to him, Vic, do you have your VIP card on you?
Yeah.
When you flash it, he doesn't even put bracelets on you or anything. He just opens the door and leads you down. The descent into the Dissolved Girl seems quicker than it did last time. When you hit the doors, the inside of the club is both busier and yet more subdued. There are more people at tables. There are more people who are lounging. There is not quite so much action that's happening up at the tables behind the bar. It is a busy night, but it is also seems to be
Mellow.
a lot more of a mellow night than the last time you were here. So now that you guys are through the front door, what do you guys do?
I assume Al's going to coat check, so
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be going back to see if I could catch Madison at a break.
Um, when you head back, Vic, heading up the stairs, Madison is. There's actually no game going on at the highest table, and Madison is standing up there with the girl who Romano and Harvey designated as the face, chatting. When you walk up to her, she lets the girl go and says, "Well, well, well. To what do I owe this pleasure tonight?"
Well, Al wanted to come in and check out with the girl coat check, but I thought I'd come in and at least give you an update. Things are actually going really well at the club. Declan's doing an amazing job. We've also got some staff, bouncer staff. So I'm hoping I could be starting here pretty soon.
She's like, "That's excellent. That is exactly what I wanted to hear." She goes, "Kennedy's working out well?"
Kennedy's working out really well.
Good.
She could be a little more open, but you know she could be a little more open, but they're doing a great job bar backing and keeping it all going.
Madison nods and says, "Kennedy is a bit of a different one. They take some getting used to, but they are excellent in a pinch. On occasion, can be very useful fonts of wisdom."
Hey, no, that's my backpack. Give it.
At Kochek,
No, stop fucking with my shit.
when you walk up, Al, Uriel is sporting a completely mesh top that leaves very little to the imagination. And again, it is difficult to, once you walk up on her, to focus because of the smell of Vitae, because she is once again sporting brand new scarification wounds on her breasts, on her stomach, on her arms. When she sees you, she smiles widely and she says, "Well, this night certainly picked up." She says, "Though you look like perhaps your night has been less than amazing."
Well, you remember our last conversation, and you gave me the advice that I was going to have to let this go, and just as I think I was rationalizing that idea, we had a new employee show up looking exactly like my child, but claiming to have no knowledge of her, no, not to have a twin, not to have. I don't understand it, and I thought I might seek your counsel.
She says, "Well, what are you doing about this?"
Well, for now, I'm keeping her close to the breast while I do some research. I'm hearing conflicting things, but one theory being that after diablerizing one so powerful, there is the possibility that that powerful entity is now taking place in her mind, in her body. And I thought, maybe you would have some knowledge on this theory.
She straightens out her shirt a little bit and takes one of your hands in hers. She says, "Why would your child come back to you and not make themselves known?"
That's what I'm trying to figure out exactly. I do not at all think this is her, but the mystery intrigues me enough to investigate.
She squeezes your hand. She says, "If it is not your child, then that leaves coincidence or something far more intentional."
And as we all know, there's not a lot of coincidence for our kind.
She thinks about it for a second. She says, "Has this person done anything? Have they attacked you? Have they been antagonistic towards you? Have they attempted to get close to you? Are they..."
Well, they came in to my bar, as a means of keeping the person close till I can figure out who and what they are. We offered them a job. She seems nice enough, um, but in no way other than resemblance is this my child. Is this my Ruby?
Uriel,
Narrator also says at this point, Alice is forgetting about how she wants to totally jump your bones. Sorry, Morgan Freeman voice comes in. Alice is forgetting how Jen with two N's totally wants to jump Alice's bones.
I don't know that I would say
I
that's
don't think that was part of it.
I was gonna say I don't think that's been established. And as
No.
Uriel squeezed your hands, I would say, as she says, "So what's really happened here is that this person wandered across your life and you took it upon yourself to keep them there."
I just said that.
What I'm saying is you were looking for a malicious cause of action or something duplicitous, when the reality of the situation is that had you not offered this opportunity, they might have come and gone like autumn leaves.
Hmm.
She squeezes your hand again and she says, "What do you want her to be?"
I just want to know that if Ruby is no longer here, that I could take your initial advice and grieve and get closure. If this person is a nobody and they perform the job, fine. They're more than welcome to stay working for the club. I don't give a shit. But when there's such a big mystery here and no answers, I would at least like to rule out that she's actually gone and not have any surprises show up on the back end. After I tell myself she's gone, it's over, let it go. I don't expect anything from this person. I just need some sort of confirmation. And I'm
Uriel
good.
gives you a sad smile and says, "For creatures who are so often accustomed to death, closure is unfortunately not one of our hallmarks." She says, "In fact, there is a certain amount of irony to be said that because we do not die, because we live forever, that our paths often will cross again. Eventually. The world is too small."
I see you're hungry. I know.
You are quite the enigma, aren't you?
She chuckles at you and she goes, "No," she says, "I simply do my best to walk through these nights, following as closely as I can in our Dark Mother's path,
I know.
and hope that one day she, and in turn I, will get justice for wrongs that have been done to both of us." She says, "I hope the same for you."
And how would you suppose I might come across more knowledge of our Dark Mother? Books, teachings, others like us?
She says, "Do you have a Book of Nod?" She says, "Then
I don't
perhaps
know.
if you are choosing to seek out to get closer to our Dark Mother, then that should probably be your first place to start."
Now, meta question, I don't think I have one, but don't the Tremere have access to one? Or not the
So,
Tremere. Yeah.
this really depends the on the people involved. It is probably not incredibly difficult to gain like a photocopied version of it or something like that, but to gain an actual bound book version of the Book of Nod is probably going to be a very, very difficult task indeed.
So I could
And
possibly reach out to like a NOS and see if they can't get me like a PDF or something.
probably.
Okay.
Um, the other thing is that actual real or artifact versions of the Book of Nod, i.e., things that have been written a long time ago,
Right.
um, are almost always considered to be sacred and or valuable artifacts. Like individual pages will be extraordinarily coveted as long as
Okay.
they're real. So it's one of those things, you know, getting the basic gist of it or something to read is probably not incredibly difficult to do,
Okay.
but if you're looking to actually gain something that's has some sort of power to it, that's
Right now, my whole goal is knowledge.
speaking of Michael. When you get to the apartments with Westy, What do you do?
I take the package from her.
You already took the package from her.
I mean, like, no, I because I didn't realize the size. I thought I just left. Anyways, I put the freaking stuff in the fridge, and then I check in with her and see like how is she doing.
She's like, he is really fucking weird.
There's weirder. You would be too if you were as old as he was.
She's like, he looks old. He looks and smells old.
He is very old.
She goes, I halfway expected like for him to put his hands over one another and like clouds of dust to come off of him.
So you could smell that on him.
She goes, I don't see how you couldn't smell that. He smells like a graveyard.
She might be a bloodhound.
I'm gonna be like, well, not all of us respond differently to turning. Some of us develop certain things, others have other gifts. You might have that gift.
She goes, smelling things is a gift. She's like, that is a extremely shitty gift. You know.
I think it's called Bloodhound. In fact, Vic is also gifted with Bloodhound tendencies.
She's like, not changing my mind on the shitty gift part. She says, so what's next? So what happens now?
Well, you get to decide if this is for you. Then I'm going to keep you close, show you the ropes of our club, show you how we kind of operate, and make sure you stay fed and away from the sunlight.
She's like, so that's it, huh? Can't ever go outside again during the day?
Pretty much.
She says, what about working out?
You can work out as much as you want at night. You can do whatever you want at night, as long as you're not caught out in the sun.
She kind of looks at her hands. She goes, I'm hungry, but I don't feel like eating.
That's the beast. We all have. I guess for you, you get hungry. For us, it's a thirst. It's not really ever going to go, it never really goes away. But sometimes it's a lot worse. We try to get from getting really bad, because then we lose control.
She nods. She goes, so what was in the butcher paper?
I'm going to assume a couple of livers, a couple of organs for you. Figured we might try smoothies tonight. Are you more into sashimi?
She says, maybe we should do that tomorrow night. She says, I have a feeling that I'm going to want to make that last for as long as I can.
I knew you were smart. I'm sorry your Olympic hopes were taken from you.
She goes,
I was very hopeful that you were going to make it.
She goes,
I
me
could
too.
see you winning.
Me too. She says, maybe one day.
Well, I am here to help you make the best of it. And, like, do you want anything from your old place, or Do you need anything from your old life?
She says, yeah. She says, but she looks up at the clock. She goes, it's too late for tonight. She says, we don't have enough time to drive over there.
Well, if you want, somebody can go grab them for you.
She
But
goes,
if you
no.
want to do it yourself, I completely understand, and we'll wait till next evening.
She goes, no, I need to I want to go get my stuff.
Right, then let's tuck in bed. I don't need to feed tonight. So I'm just going to give a call down to the club and see how everything's going.
Everything at the club seems to, when you get a call back, it's from Lane. Everything's fine. Everything's been very low key. Nothing, no particular surprises or anything like that.
Check my voicemails before I go to bed, and then send one last message to Sabine about seeing her tomorrow and in need of sadly have to call for help out again.
You actually have a message from Sabine with her saying, well, hello, gorgeous. I will see you tomorrow evening at the council meeting.
Shit. Do I know what the council meeting's about yet?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. And the dude who's at the head of the council is very poo-poo on you babes. Yep. Okay, great. Michael lets out a deep sigh of frustration and says, well, we'll see what we can do tomorrow. Unfortunately, the night job takes precedence.
Westy has already climbed in bed and is taking up a huge amount of space. Vic, what are you doing?
I don't think there was too much more to do here at the Dissolving Girl, so I think me and Al are probably, if Al is done, I'd go to the coat rack and see if Al's done, and then we'd probably just catch a taxi or an Uber back to the club.
So when you go up to see Al, what are you saying to Uriel? Are you?
I'd probably just be thanking her for all her help and advice, and tell her to give me a call sometime.
She nods and kisses the knuckles on your hand, and she says, we were going to get coffee. She puts that in quotations at some point.
I'm still counting on it.
She goes, good. She goes, we'll do that soon.
I look forward to it.
So, you leave and you take a cab back to the Beacon. At this point, the evening is late. The sky has turned from black to a very dark, bruised blue on the horizon. When you get back to the apartments, do you guys head back to the apartments, or do you actually head to the club?
I was gonna head to the club and check in on Jack before he heads out anyway.
Yeah, I can do the same. Chicken on the newbies.
Vic, when you get there, Jack, Jack and Harvey and Romano are all working the front door, laughing and talking like they're old friends. When you walk up, they're all like, "Oh, hey, how'd everything go tonight?"
We could.
The Harvey is like, man, like, I'm glad that we got all these new people on. He says, but he's like, I gotta be really honest. He's like, I don't know what to make about the two new ones. He's like, Jen, that's its own whatever. He's like, but the other two, he's like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but they're not like us. Romano kind of shrugs and nods, and he's like, well, he's like, they're not. He's like, they're just contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Jack looks at both of them and then looks at you and is like, what the fuck are y'all talking about?
Vibes, man, vibes.
The biggest secret in this club, man.
He's like, please tell me you don't have any bodies in the basement.
Not anymore.
this week.
Jinx.
Not tonight.
Al, when you get to the club,
Not too recently.
where do you head?
I'd probably just check each bar as I make my way toward my bar. Check in on
Uh,
Robin real quick.
Robin seems to be fine. When you show up, she, of course, very quickly is like, oh, is Michael back yet?
I think Michael had a long evening already and has retired.
Oh. What are you doing?
Just doing countdown and make sure all my bars are good and all you guys are taken care of.
She kind of leans over the bar and is like, you need any help?
Have you taken care of your bar?
She looks back at the bar and she's like, Ria's like, sit your ass down.
I look at Rhea and I'm like, wink, thank you. And I get very specific with her. I'm like, Robin, you need to clear down your bar. You need to count your bottles. And you need to count your bank. It's not hard. You do it every night.
She's like, okay. She's very, like,
Thank you, dear.
accommodating puppy.
And then I'd probably go follow up with Rhea out of earshot. Just be like, what have you observed of the newbies so far?
She's like, she's like, which one? She's like, Declan talks too much. Kennedy doesn't talk. Kennedy doesn't talk at all.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they'll find
At
their
least they balance
groove.
each other out.
Anything odd about Jen so far?
She goes, other than the obvious, you mean?
Well, yeah. Of
She
course.
goes, no. She seems nice. She says the only thing that I thought was maybe a little. She goes, I don't know.
No, what?
Everybody's different. She goes, she was. She sets your bar up the way that I guess you normally set your bar up. And when Declan went back there and started moving things around, there was. She goes, I don't want to say it was a tense moment, but she seemed like she wasn't real thrilled about having your stuff moved around.
Interesting.
She's like, it's smooth. Everything came out okay. She was like,
Good.
and they're, everybody's fine. She goes, there was definitely it was a little weird.
I appreciate you telling me about that. I'm gonna get on and check everybody else. If you need anything, let me know.
She's like, yep. When you head downstairs, do you head to your bar first or to Lane's bar?
Whichever one's closest. I mean,
technically, Lane's bar would be closest
Okay.
with Jen and Lane there.
Okay, let's Stop in.
When you come up, Lane is putting bottles away. Jen is emptying the ice out, and when they see you, they're both like, "Hey."
How was your evening?
Lane said, "Fine, quiet. Everything's fine." She kind of shoots side eye at Jen and then looks at you and kind of like shrugs and shakes her head.
And are we at the bar that has the little back room?
All of the bars have.
Okay, they're all okay. Yeah, I just asked Lane. I'm like, hey, can you help me out with something? I think some bottle counts were off. Can you come back here for a second with me?
Yeah, she's like, okay, and she follows you back there.
And I close the door. I'm like, I saw that look. What's that mean?
She's like, nothing. She's fine. She's not the quickest study I've ever met for a barback, but she's fine. She says there's a kind of a weird moment earlier on. So she'd already set up your bar, and then when you moved her over here with me, and Declan was over there, and he started moving stuff, and like she like hopped the bar to be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he goes, she was like, it didn't turn into a thing. She was like, you know,
She seemed protective.
she goes, I don't know if I would say protective. She was just like, she says, I don't know. She's like, but Declan was, I mean, she's like, Declan can talk himself into or out of anything, so that wasn't really a problem. But
Kind of a good skill for a bartender.
At
At least half the time.
So she Lane just kind of shrugs and she goes, I don't know what to make of her. She's like, if I didn't, she was like, if nothing else had ever happened in our lives, she said, I would say that she's fine, maybe even a little boring.
Compared to her predecessor, that's for damn sure.
She says, but then you throw in everything that happened before, and she says, I don't know, it's difficult. Like, maybe we're putting too much on this girl. She says, maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe she's perfectly fine. Maybe this is us. She says, but what if it's not? She goes, what if it's? She goes, I don't know. She's like, it's all invasion of the body snatchers up here, and
that's exactly why I took the night off. Was to reach out to some people who might be more experienced with these kinds of things, and
Lane's like, any luck on that start? On that?
Just as much this way as that, but the consensus seems to be, like you said, coincidence, but maybe. And if I, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk it over with Michael, as Michael does oversee everything, but I'm starting to have that mindset. Maybe let her go. We can get another bar back. Not an issue in that regard, but just let it go. And then if something comes of it on the back end, she shows back up, something weird happens. Do we deal with it when it comes?
Lane's like, she says, it's your bar. She's like, I don't know that I would say fire her. She's like, but if you're going to do anything, she's like, put her with the other idiot upstairs.
Have you ever seen a situation where two idiots got anything done?
She goes, Robin knows her shit. She goes, she's a lost puppy, but she knows how to bartend. She goes, it keeps
I
her out of
mean,
keeps her out of
we
eyesight
could
for you, and keeps her. We need the help.
we could also let Clyde have her.
On security?
Clyde's not security. He just does floor and clean up and stuff. And he
Oh,
was like, "Oh
oh,
my
oh, oh,
God, she
oh.
was
I guess I'm
amazing. She
just
cleaned
used
up."
to Vic using him for everything that I keep thinking he's Vic's little runner. Yeah, I'll bring those two scenarios up with Michael and see what we think would be the best fit. And I do appreciate your feedback. I really do.
Lane's like, sure. She's like, you know, whatever you want to do. She's like, no skin off my back.
See you back at the apartment later?
She's like, of course.
All
Where else,
right.
where else am I gonna sleep?
Well, keep the bed warm for me.
She's gonna kick you off the bed.
I know, I'm a restless sleeper. At that point, I would make my way out of the back room and head to my bar.
When you come out of the back room, um, she is carrying like a whole bunch of bottles to put them away in the back, and she kind of bumps into you, and she's like, "Oh, excuse me." When she bumps into you, there is a flash that is almost like watching a movie. It is some of the moments of you and Ruby at the bar. The night that you and the rest of the coterie were doing a favor for Threnody and came back with Idaho. The night that you defended Ruby from Ariel and kind of squirreled her away. Nights at the bar, bartending together. It's like a montage of sweet or important moments, but they never feel, it feels like you're watching yourself. It feels like watching a movie of you and Ruby. And then you're back.
And can I tell that it was just a coincidental thought at being bumped up against, or do I feel like it's an invading, like it was somehow actually started by bumping into me?
In terms of Jen, like you don't feel like it was intentional.
No. I meant more so, like when you're working with someone that looks exactly like someone else, sometimes in an odd moment, you'll kind of regurgitate a memory of the two of you together. Or was it that somehow in touching her, this was sparked?
No, her bumping into you definitely prompted this flash in your head.
And you see, this is why I'm fucking telling everybody it's not goddamn coincidence. The fuck? Ugh. Yeah, I try to play it cool. Ask Jen how her night went.
She like sets the bottles out. She's like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it was fine. She was like, I didn't really realize that Declan was gonna flip everything over at your bar, so I got kind of pissed about it. She was like, but it all got straightened out.
Well, what upset you so about it? You knew I was taking the night off. I wasn't going to be there.
She was like, eh. She was like, I kind of. She's like, it's dumb. I put all that work into making your bar the way you normally like it from the few times I've seen it. And then she goes, and then that loud asshole mouths off, or starts moving things around, and she goes, I don't know. She touches your hand, and she goes, are you okay? You look a little spooked.
Honestly, it's just been a really long night. Had to kind of touch base with a few contacts and acquaintances, and I think it's just kind of zapped my emotional energy.
She goes, I totally get it. I understand. I've had those nights myself. She starts to pick up all the bottles to move them in the back, and she goes, well, if you ever need to talk about anything, just let me know.
Thanks, I might take you up on that.
She's like, cool.
Why don't you get wrapped up, and then you can probably take off for the night.
She's like, she kind of looks down the bar. She's like, I mean, I still got stuff to do here.
I said when you wrap up.
She's like, okay.
And then I'd probably go, oh.
Lane's kind of looking at the two of you, kind of like eyeball back and forth, like kind of giving you a, what the fuck?
I give her kind of like a, tell you later. Like the whole big eyes, like.
Heading over to your bar. Declan is still working on getting his stuff put away. Kennedy's side of the bar is immaculate. Kennedy picks up the tray from the register and starts to walk off to head upstairs. And as they pass by, they look at you, Al, and say, back tomorrow night, right?
Of course. You guys are awesome.
They go, no, you'll be back tomorrow night, right?
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, I planned on it.
They go, good. And they walk on.
Hey, hold up. I heard there was a little bit of a, we'll call it a weird moment. Maybe you can clarify.
Kennedy gives you Kennedy gives a really long shrug and says, not my business, and heads to the office.
Declan, I'm sure you'd love to tell me about it.
When you head to Declan, he's like,
you don't even have to ask him. He starts.
He's already like, you walk up to the bar, and as you are on your way up to the bar, he is giving you descriptions of all of the customers who came up, people who are asking about you, and the weird moment with Jen, and oh my god, like, why is she so bent out of shape? It's not even her fucking bar, and like he is like animated about everything.
Well, I wish I had half of your energy.
He's like, really, you do? Because I know somebody who could totally hook you up.
I do appreciate it, but well, I mean, it looks like you handled things very well. Doesn't seem like the situation escalated, and I have spoken with Jen a bit tonight. I figured tonight, let things settle and have a full discussion with her tomorrow.
He's like, yeah, it's no problem. There's no static. He's like, everything's smoothed out. He's like,
Well, I appreciate your being so candid with me.
He's like, yeah. He's like, I mean, it's not like some of the bartenders back at Guild. He's like, some of those you put a bottle somewhere else, you're likely to lose some blood over it.
Ooh, no. Not how we run things.
But guilt runs on blood, so.
So
That's how they get it. Bartenders that fuck up.
he goes back to fixing his bar. You head back to the apartments. So, final thoughts for the evening, Vic.
Before going to the apartment, I wanted to at least offer Jack again a room in the apartments, just, to keep him from getting beat up on the butt, on the way to the bus.
He's like, no, man, I've got a kid at home, dude. I can't leave him home.
All right. If you get into trouble, give me a call. I'll make sure he has my number.
He's like, totally will. So he departs. So, final thoughts.
I think tonight went well. Seems like we at least got information. It seems like the bar is, or not the bar, the club is doing well at managing things in our absences. So I'm hoping to maybe start up at Invisible Girl pretty soon.
Fair, very fair. Mr. Starwell, final thoughts.
Is newly concerned about the Ruby doppelganger and is trying to figure out how to further diversify the business in order to also be able to supply Westy with what she might need.
Fair. Al, final thoughts.
Infusion. I feel like everyone is trying to convince me of this whole coincidence bullshit, and yet everything in person, every connection, every conversation screams something else. I think the next goal is getting my hands on some texts and seeing if any of my research produces anything.
Very fair.
Also, it should be said, we've got a Nas in pieces upstairs.
I would like to start, bring her out of torpor like ASAP.
That is certainly something to work on. With that, our session, though not our chronicle, comes to an end. XP has been awarded for the evening. Next week, session 60. Oh, excuse me, we will not be here for next week because next week is 4th of July. So in 2 weeks,
Everybody.
Session 60, and the newly reformed Primogen Council of Philadelphia meets for the first time. And in between then and now, we will see you again, not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
Mothership.
As we have 3 of our crew who have managed to get themselves into the guts of the deep and have not made it out yet.
In the guts is right, man. Living flesh walls.
You guys want to just put the math out there, and of course it's not exact, I'm rounding, but 59 sessions at least 3 hours a session, not counting duos, solos.
It's 177 hours.
At the very least.
At the very least.
I think that is absolutely amazing. I can't think of anybody else I'd want to be doing this with. So I want to thank you guys so much for being an amazing storyteller, amazing friends. I adore you guys. So with that, we will say our goodbyes for tonight. Thank you so much for being with us here on the playground. I'm Pixie Phoenix. I was joined tonight by Nox, our storyteller, Zack, who plays Victor, Martha is your Michael, and I'm your Alice. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow for City of Heroes at noon Central. Everybody have a great night, and I will see you then. Oh, and stick around for a raid, as always.